the present.
One main phenomenon was a fundamental fact. The Indians didn't vanish. The Indians didn't die off.
Indians didn't vanish. We were supposed to vanish, but we didn't. The U.S. government planned for us to vanish. They took most of the land, and then they made laws trying to make us like everyone else, to help us to vanish. But we didn't. We're still here.
When I first started teaching, elders would come up to me and they would say, you know, you make sure that our kids know not to give up our land, not to sell our land. That to them was the most important thing. And what has happened over the generations is that we have become disconnected with our land.
If it wasn't for the land, you know, we wouldn't know who we are as a people. And it's this land that we get our medicines from. It's the land that identifies us as who we are, Lakota people.
Many tribal youth, unknown to them, probably own land, even if it's a small fraction, an inch by an inch. And I don't know of any other race of people on the planet that deal with these kinds of issues. But that's one of our challenges, land fractionization.
Going back to the Allotment Act, my great-grandparents might have picked up a 160-acre allotment or 640 acres. When they passed on, and let's say they had 4 children, those land interests were divided by 4. And when those people passed on and they had children, the land was further divided. And if there wasn't a will or some mechanism for allocating the land interest, over and over again, you had a continued division into smaller and smaller pieces. So take a pie, divide it in half, divide it in quarter, divide it in eighths, divide it in 16th, 1/32, 1/64. All of a sudden, how much a piece of the pie do you have? You don't have a lot of pieces of the pie, but you still have an interest.
We have a tract of land in South Dakota, allotment 299, Nancy Cloud allotment. Okay, that's a 320-acre parcel. It's split into 3 different parcels because the US Highway 12 goes through it and South Dakota Highway 20 goes through it. So there's 3 parts of it. There's over 700 owners on that tract of land. The smallest owners would own the equivalent of a 5-inch by 5-inch square of that property.
And so that's what we call fractionization of land, of Indian land interest. You have so many players, so many stakeholders, so many interests, that who gets to call the shot that I want to lease the land to ranching, or I want to sell it, or I want to create a tree farm, or I want to set up a cell tower. I mean, all of a sudden you have potentially 200-300 different people that have an interest in that land.
And what we're able to do with that is to consolidate it, and it's a process. I remember this man at the BIA told me 10, 15 years ago, oh, that's going to take a long time. And, you know, every now and then I would ask him again, oh, that's going to take a long time. And I thought, well, if I had done it when I initially wanted to do it, it would have been done by now.
We did some community meetings last summer, and I had seen some young people I knew. And I was like, you know, come into, you know, I said, are you guys, you know, trust landowners? And one who used to be one of my students, you know, so she was only about 20 years old, and she said, yeah, I inherited some land, you know, and I said, well, where's it at? And she was like, I don't know. And she goes, the only thing I know is, you know, every couple of years I receive a couple dollars, you know, a check from the BIA. So she had no idea where her land was. And I said, you know, you really need to come in here and listen to what we're talking about, because if we don't do something now, if people don't start making those kind of connections with our land base, you know, we're going to lose it. It's going to fractionate away to nothing.
This is the land. When we go outside, when we open our eyes, this is the land that we see. This is the land which is our land. This is home. But when we talk about land as a legal thing, as an economic interest, we have to talk about land as scattered, divided pieces. The challenge is for tribes to put the land back together, to make the land whole, to make it home.
I think that's what's so important for our young people, is to have that feeling. No matter where you go, you can be home and understand what it means to be home. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, being connected. That's what this whole deal about tribal homelands is about, being connected. And again, we're one of the few that can say we're home. We're home.